Hi, welcome to Petra's show. Woohoo! I'm so glad to have you guys here. So again, I want to talk about HopeTrascends.com, a beautiful website that I want to teach you how to get on, teach you how to book shows, book meetings, and then I thought we would talk about relationships. So happy to have you here. Like always, I hope you're all doing good. Today has been a challenging day for me, but I am super stoked to be here with you. I think those days when you're just so tired, you don't even know end is up, and you just need to take a beat, take a break, get prepared, and push yourself. So those are the most amazing things that I got to do today. Love to do lives with you. Love to have you here. It looks like we have Elijah. Thanks, Elijah, for being here all the time for me. He is an amazing guy. I got to work with, and I still get to work with. Let's see. Okay, so what I'd like to talk about first is the website. I'm going to show you how to get on it. I'm going to explain it to you. And then I'm super excited because we're going to talk about communication and about relationships. So welcome everyone again. So let me just take you over here with me. See if we can get this to set up, right? Let me bring it down a little bit. Here we go. All right. Oh, let's see. Oh, there it is. All right, so here I have you. I actually have you. Just take that right off there. There. That's maybe a little bit better. Okay, so here we go. So here's the website that we developed. Super easy to get on. It's HopeTrascends.com. And this is where we do the booking. But if you see all these up here, you can get online very easily. So here, if I'm just going to hit home, because that's the first thing that you'll see when you get here. All right. Just thought I'd smile. Okay. Here we go. So, very slow today. Oh. Well, here's where we book. So it says, let's chat. You can get a 15-minute session right here. That's your first 15 minutes free. Well, anyway, so here we go. This is the front page, and it's super easy. So all you got to do is go right down here, down at the bottom, and here's where you're going to put your name, your first name, your last name, your email, and then a message if you like. Of course, you're not a robot, right? And so then that'll give you this area here where you can go and see how many points you have. You get 15 points just for signing up. We'll go to book online again. Okay. Oh, sign up. You can sign up with your Google, you can sign up with Facebook, or sign up with your email. Signing up is super, super important because, like I said, it gives you points. It gives us an idea of who you are. And so that when we do free sessions, etc., group social events, you can see them and get become a part of that. And so then up here, again, you've got About Us. You got Book Online. I want to take you to Book Online because I didn't get a chance to do that last session. So here we are with Let's Chat. If you hit that, you can add a service, add another service. You can schedule appointment right here, and you want to hit down Schedule Appointment. And should bring you to schedule. Okay, so it says, oh, here we go. And then it gives you different time slots that you can pick. Okay, so maybe I'll pick the 15th, and its next availability would be the 16th. And I'm going to pick one of these days. I'm going to go over here and pick 1:30. Then I'm going to go to next. and super easy. So then you just put in your information and you hit add to the cart or book now. Super easy. So then you book now. And there you are. And it shows that it's free. So your first session is free. All right. So then if we go back to book online, you can get urgent care. Urgent care is a 30 minutes rapid response meeting. So this is, I'm having difficulties today and I need somebody right away. And so then that way you can go right ahead and hook up yourself with an immediate meeting. I would encourage you to share, because if you share, that also gives you points. Points goes towards more free meetings. It's super user friendly. So let's see, let's look some more. I got a power session here. Power sessions are one-on-one. That's a full session, personalized meeting with me. Those meetings are super amazing because we just work through just about any kind of situation that you could possibly have. And they're one-on-one, private, and intense. Okay, so let's go down here and we're going to look at the ladies group. I absolutely adore ladies groups. It's a full hour and it's all ladies supporting ladies. We talk about everything under the sun, and there's no meeting that is nothing that ladies could talk about that is taboo here. It's amazing supporting each other. When you walk away, thank you, Bree. I see Bree's in the house. Let's see here. When you walk away from a ladies' meeting, you walk away feeling on top of the world. You are feeling amazing. You might walk into that ladies' meeting feeling like the whole world is ending on you. But when you walk away, you're feeling on top of the world, and it's amazing. So I'd encourage you to come to a ladies support group sometime and just check that out. Super amazing. Okay, so let's go. We have men's groups too. Yes, that's right. Men like to talk. You'd be surprised. At first, you come into the men's group and you're a little nervous. But you know the most amazing thing is, men are the most supportive to men. And they lay down their stories and everybody learns from each other. And before you know it, men are talking about their feelings. They're talking about the problems in their life, and they're being supported. So that is an awesome session. And then we have start a group. You can start a group, any kind of group that you like. You know, maybe there's a topic or a subject or a situation out there. Children's groups, teens groups, all kinds of different things. But if you have enough people, you can come and you can start your own meeting. It's amazing. And then community aftercare. You know, as a person in long-term sobriety, I know the only way that I can really maintain my sobriety is to have aftercare, you know. So you hit the bump in the road and you just don't know where to go. Well, then you can come to an aftercare meeting and you can talk about whatever those issues are, and you can remind yourself of the skills, or maybe even learn new skills. You can hear stories from everybody. Maybe somebody in that aftercare meeting have dealt with that situation, and now they kind of, wow, somebody else had a story that was just like theirs, just like their problem going on. So it's supporting each other and learning skills along the way. Super amazing. And then there's the SMART community, and we focus on all kinds of therapy, all kinds of therapeutic skills related to anything in the community that has anything to do with addiction. The one-on-one that we have here is for any situation whatsoever. So last time I talked about how we support teens, how we support people going through loss of loved ones. We talked about group support and therapy and coaching. and one-on-one counseling. So I want to be able to show you these things because last session I wasn't able to do that. Over here where you will sign up, then you'll have your own area where it will show your points. Like right here, it just says show up now. But it'll show your points. It will track how much sessions you have available. It'll track all kinds of really great things. Contact us. Let's go to contact us. So again, let's chat. Oh, it's got all of those things here. Let's go back to home. Again. So again, when we're up here, we can see all these different things, and you can see blogs. If you're unsure of how things work, you can hit help. There we go. Oh. Slow moving. All right. Well, as that starts to work, we'll talk a little more. I'm excited to talk about the topic we have today, and the topic is about relationships. No, we all have relationships. I think relationship starts with good communication. There, okay. Temporary difficulties. Oops. Okay, here we go. There, okay. There we go. Thank you. All right. So, I like to talk about communication because communication is number one to our relationships. I wonder what you think communication busters are. What are those things that like stop your listening? You know? How about when somebody how about when somebody talks over somebody? All of a sudden you're in a conversation and you're excited and that partner starts talking right over the top of you. Ooh, I'll tell you what, there's nothing more than to stop a communication when somebody just jumps in and stops and talks right over the top of you. The thing about that is, well, they're probably so excited to talk that they can't even stop and listen. Now, active listening is one of the most important things when you're first starting to communicate with people. Active listening says you're going to lean in. You're going to hear what the partner has to say or the person that's talking. You're going to find something that gets you excited about what they say. And when it's your turn to talk, you're going to narrow in on that exciting thing, right? It shows the person that you're interested in what they have to say. Asking questions after that is something that's really important too. When you ask a question about something that they said, it's super eye-opening to that person. Well, they actually listened to me. They actually heard what I had to say. A lot of problems in relationships start with the other person being too occupied in something else and not actually being present. It's being apart, being present with that person, not ghosting off into some other, the TV, your phone, whatever else is going on in the room. It's actively being present with that person and really hearing what they have to say and coming back with really what they said, but only in your own words. You know, ORS communication is one of the most amazing ways to communicate. It's open-ended question. An open-ended question's not oh, are you doing good today? And it's just like, I'm okay. Well, you know, what does okay mean, right? So a lot of times when somebody asks, if I say, how are you doing today? Someone will say, okay, I'm just doing okay. I'll say, well, what does okay mean to you, right? Because I don't know what okay means. So I'm opening up the communication. I'm not just leaving it at that surface level. I want to know more about what that person's day was. So don't say, what does okay mean to you, right? So if we're doing open questions, they're open-ended. Like, Who, what, where, when, how, because those are the things that open up the door to people. You know, you want to get excited about what that person has to say to you. You know, communication is something I think that like keeps the doors open. When we don't have good communication in our relationships, it tends to close the relationship down. You know, if you're in a long-term relation or long distance relationship, you don't got that physical stuff right all the time. Your communication is vital to your relationship. You know, it's the beginning of the morning and you want to contact that person right away in the morning and let them know how much you thought about them and how hard maybe it was to sleep without them or whatever it is. Those are the things that you're going to do. You're going to make that person realize that they're number one in your life, right? And that doesn't mean just long distance relationships, but that's waking up next to your person and saying, hey, good morning. You know, how do you wake up next to your person? You know, you wake up with a kind attitude. You wake up ornery, you kick them, you know. It's like building relationships is all about supporting a person while you still maintain that healthy person inside, right? So some of the other things that, and then affirmations. So I might say, how was your day? They might say, oh, I had a really shitty day. Work was really bad. And, you know, I just, my boss got on my case and I don't even feel like being there anymore. Well, an affirmation might be, you know, I've had a day like that before. And then a reflection. So then the reflection is like, but you know, how did you handle that? My reflection might be, yeah, I've had a day like that before, you know, and I can see that you're really upset about it, right? So I affirmed with them, I reflected with them, and then the summary is, so you had a bad day, you know, I'm glad you're home. And then how do we roll with the bad day, right? So that's part of open-ended questions. Listen, OR's communication. Listen, if you can use OR's communication, you can communicate just about anything. I always said that even if you had to give somebody bad information, you could do it. You can do it. There's always a good way to be able to do it, right? So you give your 3 positives, you give what you notice is going on, you know, and you ask the questions, and pretty soon they're telling you all about it and they're feeling better, right? Okay, so one of the communication busters that I teach about is, again, interrupting, being more interested in talking than listening. Sometimes people will set a timer, you know, and my mother was like this all the time. She was, you know, the minute that I would start talking, her eyes would glass over and she was thinking about what she wanted to say. No longer did she hear what I had to say. When she wasn't listening to me, it devalued what I had to say. So then, screw it. Why should I even say anything? And when you get an attitude like that, it's super hard because you shut down communication altogether and then you feel devalued. You know, who wants to communicate when their partner's not even listening to them, or their person that they're in a relationship doesn't seem like they care. So remember, it's very important to actively listen to what somebody has to say. You know, sometimes in old age, people forget what they want to say, you know, so jotting it down maybe even, you know, taking a little note. All right, lecturing. Oh my God, I hate lecturing. Oh, I just absolutely hate it. There's nothing worse than somebody who does all the talking. You know, here I am sitting here doing this. I hate that, okay? I love to have people interacting with me, you know? So as I start to do these lives, I'm going to learn how to be able to read your questions and be able to answer them, because that to me is very important, right? So lecturing is telling somebody exactly how they need to do things. You know, I'll fix your problem. So when I have a problem, it's not always about telling me how to fix my problem, right? No, I need somebody to sit with me And while you're sitting with me, I just want to be able to speak it aloud so somebody can hear me, right? So somebody can hear me and then I can hear myself. If I'm speaking aloud to somebody, I'm actually processing it in my own mind. And not only am I processing it in my own mind, but my unconscious mind is actually being processed. It's actually putting something in my unconscious mind. And so we think, oh, we don't have access to our unconscious mind. Well, the truth of the matter is we can program our unconscious mind. Our unconscious mind is what our next behavior will be tomorrow, right? So if we speak loud, we're processing and we're learning and we're understanding all of this great stuff inside of ourselves. And that's what we need to be able to do. So it's not so much having somebody fix my problem, but actually having somebody listen to me. And while I talk, I don't look like they're going to come get me and put me in the psych ward because I'm talking to myself, right? And sometimes when I have to talk to myself, hey, I'll just go in the quiet room and I'll talk to myself all day long because I know that that's how I best process. The next one is being threatened. Nothing worse than somebody saying, do this or I'll do this, right? When we feel threatened, we shut down, right? Who's going to want to talk and get excited when you're feeling threatened? We forget and we lose our voice. We become small people. And so good communication doesn't involve threatening. Finishing the sentence with you better or else, that strategy just, it puts people on the defensive, and it leads to greater arguments, right? Making fun of people. That's the thing, right? If I have a good relationship with you and we're joking around, making fun is great. But if I'm really serious and maybe we're talking about some serious issues and you start making fun of what we're talking about, well, it can make somebody very angry. I learned that recently, right? I'm joking, they're serious. They don't recognize, especially if I'm texting. Hell, they can't see my face. They can't see my body language. You can't read my voice and my tone. And it's so easy to misunderstand what I'm saying, right? So teasing and joking has its space, but not when we're in a serious conversation with each other. So it's really important to look at your partner's face and read their body language, listen to their tone, maybe talking serious is something that needs to be a video chat or in person, and then bossing. I don't like that. I don't like when I'm talking to somebody and they're bossing me around. No, I'm a person with my own ideas and my own belief systems, and I want that respect. So don't say I'll allow you or you must, you need to, because that stands in the way of empowering me, right? So if I say to you, well, I'll allow you to do this, it takes dominance over me or over the person I'm communicating with. And it's easy to do because I don't believe we really necessarily mean that we're going to allow somebody or disallow somebody. But we have to be very careful what we're saying when we're talking, because if we're bossing somebody around, very likely they're going to go the opposite direction of whatever it is that we want them to do. So it's very important when you're talking to somebody that you think about the words that you're saying. And then another thing is those words don't go away, right? They sit in our head and they play, internal criticisms on ourselves. So it's super important to remember that when you're having that wonderful conversation with somebody, that you're not being a boss to them, right? And that our communication, we're right here to each other, right? Not up here and down here, right? Criticism. You know, sometimes when I'm having a bad day or I'm having a trouble, and I come to somebody, I'm going to go back to my mom, my poor mom. But when I go back to my mom, if I go to her with a situation that I have, you know, and that I'm a problem solving, if she's overly critical of me, it shuts my communication down and I won't ask her for advice, you know? And so if I don't, if I go to her about things, it's going to be everything is wonderful in my life, and it isn't going to be some kind of thing where I'm being criticized because I have problem, right? We all have problems. So when you're trying to talk to somebody that you got to go to about a problem, well, you're going to be a little bit picky about who that person's going to be that's going to be that supporter to you. You know, it's not going to be somebody who's overly critical or somebody who's going to fix the fucking problem. Pardon me. Fixing the problem, right? I don't want somebody to fix my problem. I want to figure out my problem on my own. But I need somebody there to bounce it off. And I don't mind suggestions as long as I can kick them to the curb if they don't really fit who I am, right? Okay, so then can you think of anything else when you're talking to people that really shut down that communication? Bossing, especially in a relationship, is awful. It really, really is. You know, because it's a power dynamic, right? It says, oh, I have power over you. In a relationship, we're equal. We're supportive to each other. Yelling and screaming. Oh my God, that's right. Listen, whenever you start to feel like you're getting heated in a conversation, what do? Yell and scream? When I yell and scream, like I'm going to get a little bit loud, so bear with me, okay? But when I start yelling and I'm really loud, at what point did you stop hearing me, right? The volume in your voice. Well, people start shutting down. All of a sudden, I don't hear what you're saying. I'm just looking at you like you're some stupid idiot screaming and yelling at me. And then a lot of times, all I want to do is walk out the door, right? So when people are screaming and yelling, it's perfectly okay to say, hey, I can see that you're very angry. You're yelling, you're spit talking. You know, maybe you want to back up a little bit and you say, you know what, I think we need a break. Let's just take a break. Now, a lot of times when you go to try to take a break, have you ever been in a situation where they stand in front of the door or they grab a hold of your arm? You're not leaving. You're not leaving. Well, they don't want you to leave because they don't know if you're going to come back and they're not finished talking to you. But it's always going to be okay to take that break, right? And say, hey, you know what? I can see that we're getting heated. There's some things that if I'm angry, I don't want to say to you because I don't want to hurt you. And when I'm angry, I don't mean sometimes what I'm saying, right? So it's okay to take a break. And that break is, hey, I'm getting overheated. I see you're getting overheated. I'm going to go take a break. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to go for a ride, whatever it is. But it's the agreeing to get back together when you're both in a better frame of mind so that you can finish that conversation. Never leave it open. Never leave it open. Because all it does is fester, right? What about other things? What about other things that are communication busters? Does anybody else got any ideas about communication busters? Things that really just shut down that conversation. We had yelling, we had screaming, we had people talking over each other. What other things just drive you crazy? So as you start, please feel free to come in and talk about any of those things, okay? What about effective communication? Oh, not looking at each other. Absolutely. I love that. So like if you're looking all over the place, does that say that somebody's actually listening to you? You know, there are some people who have valid reasons why they don't look at somebody in their eye, right? So if you're autistic people have a really hard time making that eye contact. What I always teach people, look over their shoulder. You can still look like you're looking at somebody, just look above their head. Look over their shoulder, right? You're still actively looking at somebody and you're really being able to make that connection. They don't know that you're not looking directly in their eyes. And but when you look at somebody in their eyes, it gives you that soul connection. It gives you that soul connection. Sometimes you can read things that are extra there when you look at somebody, right? If I'm looking at my phone, if I'm watching TV and somebody is trying to talk to me, and that's an important moment that I need to ground myself and I need to look at them. Maybe I need to shut down the phone. I mean, there's a lot of people in the world who like can't do two things at once. For instance, I'm on the computer, I'm doing computer work, and somebody comes in and they want to have a conversation with me. It might take me a little while to disconnect from the computer and connect with them, you know. And people can get very angry with me if they don't understand that I just need a moment to disconnect so that I can reconnect with them, right? So that's very important. Any other ones, just please put them in there and we'll talk about it, because I want this to be interactive. I want you to feel comfortable telling me whatever, bringing out any kind of questions, because that's what this is. It's question and answer. It's open forum. You know, let's talk about those things that people usually don't want to talk about, because I'm here and I'm super open and there's never anything that you can't really talk to me about, okay? I think that's super important. So, you know, feel free. Let's see. So let's talk about effective communication. Oh, all right. So how do you know when somebody's actually listening to you? How do you know when somebody's actually listening to you? We can go back to what they don't do, you know. So one of the things I know when somebody's listening to me is looking at me in my eyes, maybe leaning in a little bit, you know. What do you got to say to me? Makes people really know that you're listening, right? That you care, right? When we're having meaningful conversations with people, we need them to know that you care. Well, because if you don't care, well, they're going to go find somebody else who does, right? And in a relationship building, you know, you want that person to be able to come talk to you. You want to be that first line of communication, right? You don't want them to go to other people to have a conversation with them. When they mean something to you and they matter to you, wow, it feels amazing when you know that they can come to you and talk to you, right? And so I think that let's don't push them off somewhere else, right? I mean, it is always important for us to get our head together in order to be able to talk to somebody, because if our emotions and if our thoughts and all of those sort of things aren't gathered up and we're not prepared to communicate with somebody, we're not a receptor. And when we're having conversations that are meaningful, we need to be a receptor as well as somebody who can give out information, right? Okay, so being interested in something somebody says. Oh my God. Okay, so this is really hard sometimes, because they might be talking about something that I have no clue what they're saying. And it's easy to shut that down by just looking around and acting like I'm on my phone, and like whatever they have to say doesn't matter because it's completely over my head. Well, that's when open-ended questions are important. That's when using your ORS communication is important, because look, I don't know programming. Yeah, I don't know programming. But if I want the person I'm having a communication with to feel like they matter to me, well, then I want to know a little bit more about what they're talking about. And I want them to feel like I'm excited about what they're saying. And I actually have to get excited about what they're saying, because people can pick up when you're fake. People can pick up when you're not real, right? And if what you have to say doesn't matter to the person that you care so greatly for or that you want to have a relationship with, well, you're probably not going to communicate with them, right? And then what does that do to your relationship with them? Particularly if you're in a long distance relationship. Getting excited about whatever it is that's going on in their life is amazing and important, because you're not actually standing next to them, right? But it's important even if they are standing next to you, okay? So please keep that in mind. Building relationships is like, we don't want to be lonely all our life. And it's hard, you know, but it's doable, right? Very doable. So encouraging. That's really just interested in what they have to say, you know, finding the positive things you heard about what they did. Like sometimes we capitalize on our negatives. Oh, you know, I'm not good enough. I'm just learning this task. I'm just, you know, I don't know. And so it's very easy for us to get internally discomforted with ourselves, right? So if you want to establish a good relationship with somebody, find that positive in there they don't see. Find that positive in there that they don't see and pull it out. Show them, hey, you know what? I know that it's really hard. You're learning this experience and it's really hard. You're going through this, but God, you know what? You're a very quick learner. Or, man, that website you just put out was amazing. And you only did how many? Right? Just really strengthening a relationship is really about finding those positives and being the wind beneath their wings so they can fly, right? And we all need that in our life. We all need that in our life. And it's not all that difficult, right? It's not all that difficult. When you can find positives and amazing things and strengths in people and you can encourage that, pretty soon these people start to grow and develop and become secure in themselves. And that's an amazing thing for me to watch. It's an amazing thing to be a part of, right? When somebody comes and they feel so broken in their life, I can pick up these qualities in them and I can show them, hey, what you're thinking isn't really true. Some of those things aren't really true. You know, that's where we have the greatest communications. And that's super important in relationship building. So then, supports. Look, sometimes just taking the time to listen, right? I don't have to be the person who talks in the communication, right? Check that out. I don't have to be the talker, right? I can just be the listener. Lord. Okay. Sorry. So if I'm just the listener and I pull out the things when they're ready to hear it, and I pull those things out that are really good, that's an encouragement. It encourages persons to speak. So that's really important. Sometimes they just need to hear the feedback. So you just take what they say and you come back with your own words and you say, hey, is this what I'm hearing? You know, because you're actually making it so they hear it. You're mirroring what they say. Oh God, that's an amazing thing to have, right? When you're mirroring what somebody says so they can hear it in your words, right? Super important thing because it validates it and it gets them to be able to hear what they're saying, right? Nice. Let's see. So then being open-minded. When you're having a conversation with somebody, and I don't care who it is, whatever the relationship is, right? Yeah, you close down communication when you're closed-minded, right? And how do we get closed-minded? Well, we're not educated on something, or, you know, we're standing strong in our belief systems and there's no room for anybody else's belief system, right? It just shuts down everything, you know? If I was a closed-minded person, I wouldn't be able to be here with you today. But if I was a closed-minded person, I would sit and believe everything that I learned in a very narrow world, and I would have never gotten to know some most amazing people clear around the world. if I believed and only thought about what people said about other people, I would never I would never have an opportunity to know what different cultures are. Man, I have friends around the world because I have an open mind, because I'm excited about what their life is like, you know? Because just because somebody says, you know, a culture is bad, hey, not everybody in that culture even goes along with that. Not everybody in that culture is bad. You know, opening yourself to new ideas helps you grow as a person. And when you grow as a person, you're learning and you're developing, you're becoming stronger, more resilient, you know, a better person inside, right? So don't close yourself off to all these wonderful things that you can have, that you can get to know different people. Don't close yourself off just because you have a belief system that is holding you rigid and not allowing you to grow. So being open, trying to open up to what the other person is saying. Listen for areas in which you can agree. Look, I might not believe in a certain religion or a certain thing, but you know what I found is if I open up and I listen to somebody, I have way better idea of what's going on and what, you know, the feelings of another person is so important in communication, because if I want to have good communication, if I want to have good relationships, maybe I want that raise, you know, I'm going to have to know how that other person is feeling and take in consideration that. So that's really important too when you're having a good relationship with someone. Check in. You know, I can listen to you all day long. If all I do is listen and I don't check in with you, would you even know that I care? You might not even know I care, right? So when I'm talking to somebody, I might ask them, and so what did I say to you? What did you get from that? What is your perception of what I said? Perceptions are so important, right? We all have our own perception. You know, if you talk about reality and you talk about true reality, well, my reality is my perception of what I'm hearing and what's going on around me in my world. But reality then becomes what I take it, what I make it, right? True reality is when I take everybody's perception, I step above it, and I look at the whole picture. And I really enjoy true reality because I want to know the real, not just my perception of the real. So I think it's super important. So keep that in mind, okay? So check in. Sometimes check in is when I'm listening to somebody, I'm coming back and saying, so you said you had a bad day. Things didn't go very well. Your boss is pissing you off. And you really didn't know how you were going to handle that. Am I right about that? Right? Because if I'm going to give, and if I'm going to give a suggestion, it's never going to just be, I'm going to jump in there and give you my perception of it. No, I'm going to say, hey, well, would you like a suggestion? You know, because maybe they just want to sit with it. Maybe they just want to hear it. Maybe they don't want your perception of it, right? So I think that's important too. We want to make sure that we're asking if they want our input. Keep it open. Again, open questions give deeper conversations. Now, if you're just a person who likes that surface communication, maybe you're just a person who likes a surface communication. Maybe you get uncomfortable or your feelings you don't know how to process your feelings if you get into a deep conversation, and that's okay, you know. But if you're a person who really enjoys deep conversation, it's not going to be a surface communication that you're looking for. To get to know somebody in your life a little bit more, you're going to want that deeper conversation. My father had a really hard time with communicating. I don't know. I think it was that he was afraid maybe he wasn't going to say the right thing, or he didn't know how to communicate very well, right? And before my dad died, well, he passed away like 3 years ago. And before my dad died, I was like, how do I have a conversation, meaningful conversations with my dad? Because he's dying. I mean, he's got cancer and I know he's dying. And, I want to know how he feels about me, right? I want to know the things that I never knew, And behavior is a great thing because I can pick the behavior up and I can pick that my dad loves me, but hearing him tell me I love you, was what I craved. I needed that, And so learning those open questions to get more information from my dad was huge, right? And finding things that my dad liked to talk about was huge. So when you're just starting to work with somebody and you're just trying to get them to open up to you, find out what motivates their conversation. Find out what it is that really ticks them and gets them excited, right? And then try to open the conversation that way. He was a farmer. He loved to farm, right? So then I'd ask him questions about the machinery that he owned, Well, why did you like a Fergie magazine or Fergie whatever, as opposed to a Fireball, as opposed to whatever, And then he would like light up and he would want to talk to me about this exciting thing that he loved. Tractors were his thing. So being a part of that and watching him open up was huge. And one day I said to my dad, I remember I was very young, and this was early on in my life with him. I said to him, Dad, because I couldn't come right out and ask him, do you love me? Because, sure, whatever, And I needed to know, right? So I said, Dad, if I was falling off this wagon, we were on the hay wagon, and it meant that you had to give your life to save me, what'd you do, Dad? That was an open question, right? Well, then he said, I would jump off and push you back on. So you'd give your life to save me, Dad? And he said, I sure would. I would. You're my daughter. Wow. That was amazing for me to hear. It was the validation that I needed to hear without him even saying, I love you. And that was open question. That was an open question that got me to be able to, understand that he loved me. So open-ended questions are super, super important because you can get so much more information from somebody. Understanding others. So it's important to understand the other person's point of view. You can have one-sided conversations. How long do you think they're going to last? And how meaningful are one-sided conversations where the other person's doing all the talking and you're not doing any of it? Understanding other people's point of view, and it's okay to disagree. So you can agree to disagree. It's perfectly okay. Everyone has a different idea, and getting everybody's perspective again gives you a true reality. So it's amazing. It's amazing. So effective communication is like the cornerstone of any kind of relationship. I wanted to share that with you because I think sometimes we don't always consider like what's the best way to communicate with people. And then there's fear fighting. I want to talk about fear fighting because, hey, in a relationship, you're going to have arguments, right? It's just a part of it, right? You're going to have misunderstandings. You're gonna get frustrated with each other. All of those things can happen in a relationship. So I want to talk about fear fighting rules, and I got them on the internet. So I'm going to pull this down and I'm going to kind of take you with me. All right, so let's see here. Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can find them on here. Yes. Woohoo, fair fighting. Okay, so before you begin, ask yourself, why the hell am I upset? What's really the problem, right? Because sometimes when we get angry, it's like, there's so many different things that are involved that we didn't even really figure out what the hell are we really angry about, right? So, are you angry because your partner left the mustard on the counter? Or are you angry because you feel like you're doing all of the work and, it's an uneven thing? Maybe that's just a piece of the evidence, but it's not the whole thing, right? So take time to think about, what is my feelings? Why am I upset? So before I'm going to have a conversation with my market manager, right, who's here, King, but before I have a conversation with him, I'm going to understand, why am I frustrated? What is going on wrong? So I'm not just coming in there with all kinds of blown up things and just blaring at him. Because we already know if my voice is high, he's not going to be hearing me anyway, right? So it's super important that I know what it is. What is that foundation? What is the root of the problem, right? And then take time to discuss one topic at a time, right? So if I'm thinking about my difficulties or the things I might go back to, oh man, he left the toilet seat up and I sat on it. No, that's a really disgusting thing, right? But maybe it doesn't have anything to do with that. Maybe it's something deeper, right? So then I'm going to discuss one topic at a time, okay? So I think it's super important for us to remember that we're going to find out what it is that we're mad about. Maybe even write a list about it. Well, maybe it's more than one thing. And then we're going to discuss one topic at a time. Okay, so don't, it might be let's see, you left the dishes in the sink and it was your turn to do the dishes, or you watch too much TV. You're going to talk one subject at a time, not overwhelm them with all these different subjects, right? And then don't let the topic get off. Don't let the subject get off topic. And because if you do, you're likely to get heated. The more angry you get, the less you're going to be talking productively about what is going on, right? And remember, every problem is an opportunity to problem solve with each other. And trust me, when you can problem solve the situation and you come out of it, you're stronger and more together and more supportive with each other. So just remember, that's very important. And then no degrading language. So you're not going to say, "You fucking asshole," and all of that sort of stuff. Because when you do put downs and you swear at people and you're name calling, it's just degrading. And it just heats up the situation worse, right? So I always say, when you're following these rules, you're going to agree not to use negative words towards each other, right? And then express your feelings with words. Like, well, listen, I feel really hurt when I can't reach you on the phone, and I know that you're online, and I feel like I don't matter to you when you can see that I'm clearly trying to reach you. I feel like you're ghosting me. And then I get insecure, right? Because I'm literally explaining it as and I'm taking it on me, right? So I'm not saying you do, because that puts somebody on the defensive, right? And then taking turns communicating, all right? So I might go first, then it's your turn, right? And it needs to be like about 2 minutes. Like I get the floor for 2 minutes, you get the floor for 2 minutes without interrupting. And interrupting is difficult, particularly when you have those ideas that you really want to get across, and You're just waiting for somebody to finish. So it's really important to hear them and get into them and find out what it is that they have to say about it. Stonewalling. Oh, shit. That is a hard one, okay? I don't want to talk. I don't want to speak about it, right? You just got on a subject that I feel more upset about, that I don't want to talk about it, right? So I'm just going to shut down. Shutting down is not an option. Taking a break is, okay? So think about this. Stonewalling. Sometimes the easiest way to respond to an argument is to retreat into your shell and refuse to speak. This is called stonewalling. You might feel better temporarily, but the original issue remains unresolved. Your partner will feel more upset. If you absolutely cannot go on, you tell your partner, I need to take a time out. Man, this is just, I'm getting too frustrated. I don't want to say things that are going to hurt you. I love you. I'm going to take a break. And your partner should agree that it's okay for you to take a break. But when you take a break, you're going to agree to a time when you're going to come back to each other and discuss it. Okay? So that's super important. Yelling. Listen, I just showed you how come yelling is not cool. Because when I yell, you stop hearing me. Okay? And when you stop hearing me, the whole communication stops. And whatever the problem is, you're no longer going to be able to fix it. So remember, that is a super important thing, right? No yelling. If you start getting heated, again, I need to take a break. I need a timeout, right? So yelling does not help anyone see your point of view. Instead, it sends the message that that only your words matter. That even if yelling intimidates your partner into giving up, the underlying problem grows. It gets worse, and it can get really bad. Okay, so remember that now. Take time out of things when you get too heated. Never, ever, ever is it a problem for you to be able to say, I need to take a break, right? I love you. I don't want to have a conversation that I'm going to hurt you. Okay? And so, in a perfect world, we would follow these rules 100% of the time, but it just doesn't work that way, right? And so, if an argument starts to become personal, and the person's taking it personal or you're taking it personal, that's when you say, hey, I'm going to agree to take some time, cool off, whatever that might be, and then come back and discuss the problem when everybody is calm, cool, and collective, right? Yelling only shows the ugly side of the other partner. Exactly right. Thanks, E. So it's about respect too. Look, we can fight, we can argue, but if we're doing it in a healthy way, then it's not an argument anymore. It's a problem-solving session, right? And so then attempt to come to a compromise. There is absolutely no reason why you can't agree to disagree. In a perfect world, we'd all agree and it'd be great, right? But this is not a perfect world, and there is no perfect person. So attempt to come to a compromise or an understanding, right? Okay, so I see that you will sometimes in the middle of the night leave the toilet seat up. I'm going to just agree that you leave the toilet seat up, and I'm going to get in the habit of constantly laying this toilet seat down. I don't sit on the empty toilet seat no more, right? So whatever that might be. And giving in to a problem or to support a person isn't me losing over something. Because when did my partner become my enemy? It's never going to be that my partner or my friend or my coworker or any relationship that I have, I shouldn't be looking at them like they're my enemy. I should be looking at them like we're a team, right? and we're just going to work through it as a team. Okay. And so attempt to compromise. So there isn't always a perfect answer. A life is too messy for that. So do your best to compromise. You can get fair fighting rules right on the internet. It's really an awesome thing to do. And sometimes I suggest my couples to get that fair fighting rules and actually just sign them. Sign them, and then when things get heated or out of control, bring them back and say, hey, look, we agreed that we're not gonna fight like this. We don't want to destroy each other, right? And it's even more important when you're in a long distance relationship, because the more that your communication is defective, the more that it rips your relationship apart, right? And long distance relationships are more about the soul connecting, communication. It's a deeper, more meaningful thing. And it takes courage and resilience and all kinds of things in order to be able to keep it going. So I totally suggest in a long distance relationship that you're working out everything and you're communicating 3, 4, 5 times a day. You don't go to bed without saying goodnight to that person and telling them how much they meant to you and what your day was like and sharing everything. And we have video conferencing now. You can get online. You can take that person on a date. You can take them with you wherever you go. You can take them on family gatherings. You just take them with you on your phone. There's so much that you can be a part of each other's lives. And I suggest that those are the things that we look at, right? So that's about relationship building. It's about communication. And I think that those are super important topics for us to be able to talk about. There is also the other thing I wanted to talk about is a screening tool or a tool that we can use when we're making decisions. And you can do this with each other. So maybe you have to make a real heavy decision. And there's something called decisional balance worksheet. I'm going to show it to you. So you see here where it says decisional balance worksheet. Well, here you go. You got the benefits or pros of the decision if you just don't make a change. Here you go. What's the benefit if you just don't make a change? What's the cost or con if you make a change in your life, right? And then you go down here, no change at all. What's the benefit? Oh, I'm sorry. Up here is making a change, the benefit of the change, the cost of the change. Down below is if I don't make the change, what's going to happen, right? And then the benefit of not making a change. Things like decisional balances and different kind of things like that we teach in our group sessions and even in one-on-ones. This is just a very small piece of what I do when you come to sessions with me. We talk about relationships. We talk about problem solving. We pull out amazing lessons and learning about all of that sort of stuff. So here, let's see. Here you can find decisionalbalance.pdf. But I'm going to take you back to Hope Transcends. Again, HopeTrascends.com. If you like what I just did with you, if you liked what I did with you today, if you liked any of these things, this is where you want to come to, because you can come to HopeTrascends.com and you can learn all these great things, right? I want to thank you so much for being a part of this with me today. You can certainly join our website. We have, we have a fan club. You can find me on TikTok. I'm going to be doing more lives so that I'm going to try to figure out how we can get you to join some of these things and maybe do some podcasts so you can come in and start asking questions. I think that that's really important too. I just wanted you to have an idea of who I am, how I work with people, and to get a little idea of some of the learning that we can do. Yeah, if there's any questions, please feel free to ask any. Please make yourself visible when you join these amazing lessons. Let's see here. Thank you. Ooh. Let's see here. Thanks for the gifts. Just remember that relationships are key to us not being lonely. And you know, social learning is not very easy, and anxiety comes very, very, very big in our life, particularly social anxiety when we don't know how to respond, or we don't know what we're looking for. We don't know how to talk. No, we don't know how to share or express ourselves. Maybe we're a little worried about what we might say. And all of those things are like important lessons. We don't need drugs or alcohol to get ourselves out there. All we need to do is just know who we are. Know who we are, understand how to navigate some of these things, and just work through it, right? Those are the most important keys in order for us to get out there and become, you know, healthy, feel good about ourselves, right? Yeah, I don't know. I just want to thank you so much for being here. I think next session I'd like to ask people about what they would like to have for content. We can talk about anything. I don't know. Otherwise, I'm just really happy to be a part of all of this, and I think I'm going to let us go now. I'm going to think about doing lives 2 or 3 times a week. I am going to be doing one group session free a month, and I'm gonna put that out on TikTok, X, and Threads and Facebook so that you can see. But please come check out our website. You know, we do everything online, all by Zoom. And well, come meet me, you know. I'd love to be able to meet you. So subscribe to our YouTube channel, repost the videos and the posts that we do on TikTok. Please help me get the word out there, because you know I can't do this without you. And the other part about this is take care of yourself. Please take care of yourself, because as much as I would like to be able to take care of you, I can't do it for you. Thank you. Bye.